Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of HPCritical, a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I'm Jerel, and today I am joined by Brandon, Kristie, Zack and Job, and we're doing an FF7 Spoilercast for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Of course, all of us have finished it by now. We've all played up to at least through Midgar and the original Final Fantasy VII, and we couldn't go on without having a conversation about it. So, first things first, I'm going to ask everyone, how did you guys feel about the game? How do you feel about the term remake, and how did you feel about the differences in the game between the original and the remake? Starting with Kristie, how'd you feel?
So, I personally liked it a lot. And I mean, I go back and forth with the game being titled as a remake when it's only the first part, including Midgar. But I guess, well, I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that I like the game and that, whatever Square decides to do with the title for remake, whether or not it has like another meaning to it as Number has implied, you know what? I'm here for the ride. They sold me on the game. I enjoyed the differences. I thought the differences, it added a bit more to the characters, especially with the Avalanche trio, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. Mm-hmm. I felt like I really connected with them more than in the OG. In the OG, when they died, I was like, oh, well, that's sad that they died. Oh, well. We're moving on.
Literally.
That's so true, man.
But I also enjoyed the fact that you saw Aerith and Tifa bonding.
Oh,
and it was like the cutest thing ever, and I love it. And I just love the character banter. Like, I mean, if this is the quality that they're going to be aiming for the next game, then that's perfectly fine by me. Cool. Bring it on.
Cool. Zack, what about you? How do you feel about the term remake and the differences from the OG to the remake of Final Fantasy VII?
Well, first of all, I absolutely loved the game. And as far as, like, calling it a remake, I think they absolutely hit the nail on the head. Like, they didn't set out to just recreate the game. They literally remade it from the ground up. Like, with everything from what they added story-wise, recreating what they did and just adding to it, just really added a lot for me personally. Like, I loved every minute of it.
Same. Me too. Did you have anything else to add?
Not just yet.
Okay.
I think I'll have more to say as we go on.
Cool. Brandon, what about you?
So, for me, I'm pretty much on the same page. Like, I absolutely loved everything about this remake. Like, when it comes to RPGs, I could go either turn-based or action RPG. So I heard this one was going the action RPG route, and I said, for sure, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it ended up having its own distinct style. Like, when you hear action RPG, my mind always goes to Kingdom Hearts because that's the first major action RPG I've played. And it's pretty much the standard to which I judge all other action RPGs. So given that and the fact that this is also made by Nomura, I was expecting a lot of the same, but I was pleasantly surprised that it really has its own identity to it, mm-hmm. that it's its own thing. It's not like Kingdom Hearts. Like, Kingdom Hearts could get hard later on, but it starts off pretty simple. You have plenty of time to learn the controls. Final Fantasy VII Remake makes you think. You cannot just button mash this game or you will get punished very early on. You need to be, the ATB gauge makes it function a little bit like a turn-based in that sense, even though it's action, because you can't access all your strongest moves right away. You have basic slashes to work out with, but otherwise you gotta be focused on your opponent and such and knowing the right time to do it. And that's an interesting way to evolve the original Final Fantasy VII game, which was a turn-based, but it did follow the ATB gameplay. So, you got that gauge going up. That's how the turns were kind of decided in that sense. So it really felt like they preserved the original while also making it, paying it forward. And like Zack said, it's a remake. This is the most remake game I've seen because so many remakes just for lack of a better word, it's the old game with like a new color paint and maybe some new features.
Yeah.
But they really just built it up from the ground up, and I actually commend them for doing it in parts so they can make sure that each part has the level of care that it deserves. As far as the term remake, and this will be the last point before we move on to someone else, is that I'm very interested, especially after finishing the game, what the word remake in this term actually really means.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, it's like, there's so many games, there's a few games, like, for example, Resident Evil 2 Remake had remake just firmly in the title, but that was literally just, it was straightforward. It's like, this is a remake of Resident Evil 2, so it's called Resident Evil 2 Remake. This one, though, it has remake in the title, but it may not imply that it only just means remake, and I'm very fascinated to see what it ends up meaning going forward. And that's all I got for right now. We'll talk
And
more.
especially since that is a Nomura title as well, too. You know how Nomura enjoys his naming conventions.
Oh, he certainly does. He most certainly does.
Yeah.
Like, remind.
Yeah.
Remake over 358 days.
Remind us about the remake over 358 days in KH2/Axel.
Inject your nonsense into my veins no more.
So for all we know, it could be remake.
Yeah.
Who knows what
It
he
could
means?
be, yeah. I mean, yeah, we have no idea.
Maybe that's what it means.
So, Job, same question. How do you feel about the term remake and the differences between the original and this game?
I was actually very skeptical at first going into it. And in the beginning as well, I was not very hooked with.
He was not. I can confirm.
You weren't?
He was not.
No, I need to
with
hear
Avalanche
this.
stuff, though. Specifically with Avalanche stuff, because they are so much more involved now. But at the same time, I was going through with the mindset of, oh, they're just gonna die, whatever. Like, this is all just like extra stuff, like extra pointless stuff, I should say. But as more and more extra pointless stuff, like, oh, we're just gonna get to know more of them, but they're just gonna go away anyway. They're just still gonna die and be pointless. But as I went on through the game, they started throwing wrenches into my plans and adding random factoids
What?
that were not in the original. Like, how we know all three die, but in the end, we see Biggs very much not dead. And we also see Wedge not die, but, the Whispers choose to do what they will and imply that he is gone again. So those type of differences are like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
I'm very much interested now.
I think that makes a really important point because, going into the game thinking that I don't care about these characters because I know what's going to happen to them, only to find out, oh shit, the word remake means, like, essentially not what I thought it meant in the beginning, which is that I don't know what the fuck is going to happen to them anymore. I think that's a very interesting and important point. But yeah, he was not too keen on the game in the beginning, and he's a really big OG FF7 fan, so I was concerned, but, of course, as we finished it, things changed. Did you want to add anything else, or?
No, maybe just that even though I did go in skeptical, as a huge fan as well, of the franchise in general, I did end up loving the game.
Yay! I think the consensus is that we all loved it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
The best thing about this remake is Madam M.
Oh my
Hands
god,
down.
like 100%. 100%.
She is one of my favorites now.
Her 0
know,
to 100 is great.
She's a bit scary if you get the poor man.
Oh, yeah, I saw the poor man scene. Oh!
She's perfect.
I wouldn't wish that on my enemy.
As for me, I kind of agree with Brandon. I do think the term remake has, in this game, the perfect sense of what the word remake means. Like, I think that this game is going to change people adding remake to the title of a game they're just, throwing a new coat of paint on. Because also, to go on with what Job said, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's great. I did play the original. I really like the original, but I'm very happy that I'm not just replaying the original title. I know a lot of people did complain about some of the things that were added into the game, like, the extra missions with Jesse and Avalanche, or even the side quests, but I personally did not have a problem with any of the side quests. I did roll my eyes when I had to go find some cats.
You did?
But I did. I was like, but then also,
Petty, though.
But so that's where I was going with this. At first I was like, okay, people have been complaining about, oh, you gotta go find cats. But I think it was incorporated really well because you're a mercenary who's looking for jobs and, you're gonna help this little girl. And I was like, oh, this is actually super adorable. I actually don't...
Well, but not even then. It's like you're a mercenary in a brand new area.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I do think that
what you gotta do.
it went with the story. So, having heard other complaints about it, but then playing it, I was like, no, this makes to me perfect sense. Like, it's this merc guy who has nothing else to do. He's trying to make a name for himself. Yeah, go help this little girl with cats. And so, having played it myself, I think that really did change my original feelings on it. And I think I can't even complain about the added filler, as some people would say, because a lot of those quests that I did, I enjoyed, mostly because I love the combat so much that it gave me an opportunity to try new combos out with Tifa, gain the proficiency bonus for whatever new weapon I have. I loved everything that gave me an ability to fight more in this game. So definitely, I think those times in between story that people complain about were not something to complain about for me. So everything that was a part of the remake that people complain that is filler, I don't think was filler. I think it was perfect. I do love the characterization that was added in the remake. I think it's one of the more prolific parts of the game is what was added to the character development, because the beginning, Tifa, Cloud, and Barrett are completely different after, 40, 50, 60 hours, to the end of Tifa, Cloud, and Barrett. Their relationship changes over the course of this game. And
It definitely does.
it's so cool to see within like the 50 hours that I played, knowing that this is just part one, that like they're friends now by the end of this game. So going forward, it's going to be even more than that. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think the term remake was perfect, and the differences that I saw so far, I think I love all of them because I love not knowing. Probably my favorite one was Barrett getting stabbed. I was like, holy shit.
Oh my god.
Like,
Yes.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that was a big curveball.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What just happened?
I was like, oh my god, what's going on? And obviously we know that he's not going to die there, because plot armor, as Job likes to say. He's clearly not going to die there, but it's just like, what? So I think keeping us all on our toes was great. Yeah.
I would like to comment on that real quick. I was concerned because Wedge was alive, and I was already getting the feeling by this point that things are not going the way they're supposed to. So I was legitimately concerned for Barrett for a second, especially because of.
I think that's exactly like what they wanted you to feel.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment right there, like they showed you Wedge, 20 minutes before that happens?
Yeah.
And then they
like fate's changing, and so I saw Barrett get stabbed, and with my suspicions being the way they were, and also the fact that this game, there's 4, playable party members, but you only have 3 of them at a time. I thought we're getting close to the end here. Is this the way they're gonna cement the fact that you're gonna have 3 party members at the very end of the game, just kill off Barrett now? And I was like, no, don't do this, don't do this.
It clearly is. You're right, because we already have a gun guy, and that's Vincent. So Barrett's got to die. So he was gonna die so that Vincent can live.
Don't do this. I recently got to Cosmo Canyon in my OG FF7 playthrough, and obviously I'm not going to talk too much about that, but seeing all the stuff that going on with Barrett's story, especially I did Coral Prison not too long ago, was it'd be a crime if they had killed off Barrett this early in the remake storyline.
Literally, the first thing I said when I was playing the original, I was like, this is clearly not his daughter, because he's black and she's not. So I was like, what's going on there?
Wait, really? I was so when I played through the original, I was like, oh, that's so sweet. He adopted a little girl, because I was like, okay, they're in the slums. There's probably lots of little kids running around. So I was like, oh, he probably adopted her. That's so sweet. I
thought that too initially.
Well, in my mind, I was like, oh, this game's really old. They couldn't do any more black characters. So
they ran out. Oh no.
They were like, oh god. So they stopped, and I was like, this is clearly not his daughter. And then, of course, you get to Coral Canyon, and you find out that, of course, he adopted her and everything. But, right. I mean, plot armor, obviously, we have to find those things out. So, of course, he's not going anywhere. At least not until then.
Yeah, Coral, he has plot armor on him.
Yeah.
Right.
So, next thing I want to talk about, theories revolving the differences in the game and what your interpretation was of the ending of the game. So, of course, the ending of Midgar, the ending of an OG Final Fantasy VII, the ending of this game are they end similar, but there are lots of differences. What are your theories revolving the ending? And what I mean by that is, what we see happen is that supposedly, if you believe this, the Whispers, which were keeping the original story intact, are no longer there to keep the original story intact. And then we see Biggs is still alive. We don't know what happened to Wedge. We haven't seen Jessie since the end. How did you all interpret the
we
ending?
see her headband.
We do. We
and
see her headband
gloves.
on the table and her gloves next to Biggs. So how do you guys feel about that? What is your interpretation of the ending of the game? Starting with Kristie again.
Oh, with me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. For the ending, I think that it does open the doors to the developers and the creators to kind of have a different interpretation of how the next events will happen in part 2. Of course, I know with the Ultimania, they've also stated that most of the events that fans of the OG expect to see will still be in the overall game.
Mm-hmm.
But with how the game ended, I think that it does open the doors to how the events will happen, like the events leading up to this event that fans are wanting to see. Like we'll still see like a ton of the iconic scenes that we saw in the OG, but I think how we get there will be different and it will be handled differently.
So one of the theories that going around, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. So do you think that the Whispers are gone? Do you believe that there's an alternate timeline? Do you think that Aerith is supposedly going to live now? How do you feel about, like, what is your interpretation of the ending of the game? With Biggs alive, etc.
So with Biggs alive, I think he's going to have a different role. If we see him again, I think he'll have a different role within part 2. I don't foresee him living at the very end of the game, of the remake. Since he is still alive, if Jessie is still alive, I also don't expect for her to make it out of the remake ending alive either.
So everybody's gonna die.
Yeah, like
everyone who died in the OG is gonna die again.
Die.
Okay. Even with do you believe that the Whispers are actually gone?
The Whispers are truly gone.
Okay, okay. So that scene in the end where, like, it turns into, like, white glittery shit, you don't believe that's them being completely gone, even though we fought them?
I mean, the sequence at the very end, we saw that, correct me if I'm wrong, we saw that with the spoiler guy, the Zack, right? See, but the thing is that Zack, he's there. That takes place like a bit before. And so I wonder,
the Whispers disappear.
Yeah, so I wonder if the Whispers were just circling around trying to prevent Zack from getting in there, but at the same time, it still doesn't explain how Cloud got the Buster Sword. If Zack still has it.
I was literally just asking.
Sorry.
Whether no. I'm saying I was just asking this question too yesterday. I think I asked Job yesterday about, like, doesn't Cloud get the Buster Sword from Zack? Like, what the heck does that mean? So, do you believe that there is an alternate timeline then?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I feel like it's a possibility. But it's a possibility, but knowing Square, I feel like they're not going to go for it.
Okay, interesting. Did you want to add anything else?
Well, so my theory on the Whispers is that it's a meta commentary from Square saying that basically the Whispers are fans who don't want the storyline to change, which is the reason why the Whispers are always there at certain, like, iconic sequences, like with the plate drop.
That's true.
what was it, when Cloud was about to basically murder Reno. Where else was it too? Where else do we see the whispers?
When Barrett dies.
Oh yeah, when Barrett
Yeah.
dies.
That's
they
them
seemingly
preventing a
pushed
death
Wedge
as
We
opposed
see them
off the-
around
True.
when Cloud was fighting Rufus as well too.
Right.
And then we saw the fact that they were still lingering around the Shinra Tower after Cloud and Tifa and Barrett have already left as well too.
Oh, there was also the time where the Whisperers came in when Cloud was getting cut from the second Mako reactor mission.
Oh yeah, that's right. He got cut from that mission as well too, because in the OG he was supposed to be there, but in the end, Bear decided that he didn't want Cloud on the team.
They literally throw a whole ghost party just to break poor Jesse's ankle.
Yeah.
True.
I do also think it's interesting that supposedly only certain people can see the whispers unless they want to be seen. And so far, out of all the characters, I know I spoke to Brandon about this after our streams have ended, but so far the characters who can see the whispers have been Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, Jesse, and Wedge.
Rufus too.
Rufus can. Aerith can. Hojo, he also saw the whispers, right?
I'm
That one's
actually
a
not
little
sure if he
gray
saw
because
them. He was just
Like, he got
shocked
carried
at what was
away.
happening to him.
Oh, he
what
did
is
get
this
carried away
unusual
by them.
phenomenon?
Yeah, he
like,
was like, "What is this phenomenon?"
Mm.
As he got carried away.
so it's hard to tell if he could actually see them or if he just knew that he was being carried away by something.
So essentially, Kristie, to sum it up, your theory is that the whispers represent fans. It's meta, and it represents fans who don't want the story to change.
Yes.
And you're not necessarily convinced that they're gone, and you also aren't necessarily convinced that there's another timeline.
Yes. I feel like that seeing a different stamp at the end was a red herring.
Oh, okay. I've heard that as well. Zach, same question. What are your theories revolving the differences in the game, and what was your interpretation of everything in the end?
So I'll go and just jump right back in with the whispers right away. So, small thing that, like, you could, like, blink and miss it, is in that final fight with Sephiroth, you see him literally absorb the plot ghost into his sword.
Ooh, that's true. I did notice that.
So at some point during all of this nonsense, it seems to be implied that Sephiroth has control of these wonderful little plot ghosts, which makes me think that they're probably not completely gone, or at the very least, the planet's control of them are completely gone, and that's what we see at the very end when they turn into the pixie dust.
Interesting.
So that's
So
kind of what I'm
basically,
thinking
the
there.
planet no longer has control of them, but Sephiroth has them in his pocket.
Oof.
More or less. So, like,
That's
if
powerful.
we do see them again,
Oof.
it'll only be, like, when Sephiroth wants to mix
Jeez.
things up,
Okay.
or put them back onto the right track, or whatever his plan is.
All of us are fucked.
Exactly.
Yeah, Sephiroth with fate powers. Fuck.
And then, with Zack and what was going on with his plot ghost is, if you notice when that first part of the scene happens and you're seeing all the soldiers everywhere, there's all kinds of plot ghosts all over the place. They're there to ensure that he dies right then, because that's what is supposed to happen. But then, later on, you get the whole events with Cloud, Tifa, and the guys, like, literally fighting fate, and they kill them all, essentially. That apparently causes some sort of singularity, which is what the area, if I'm not mistaken, that's what the area is called when Cloud and Sephiroth are fighting. It's like a singularity right then and
I
there.
believe so.
Yeah.
And that singularity is happening across all of time at once, which is why it cuts back to Zack, and you see the Midgar in the background surrounded by infinite numbers of the Whispers. And now they're no longer there to make sure he dies, so he's able to get out alive. And that singularity is what causes the split timeline.
So you do believe in a split
But-
timeline?
100%.
Okay.
But the thing is that the whispers were only surrounding Midgard. They weren't really surrounding Zack
During
at
the
the
first
end.
cut, exactly, they weren't surrounding him at the end, which means that they weren't able to do their job, which was make sure he dies.
Which is why he's alive.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because they are there in the first scene where he shows up, and they're seeing all the soldiers. They're like flying all around, and nobody notices them. But then,
Okay.
as soon as that singularity happens, that's when you see the stamp, the weird chip bag with a different stamp. And that's when they walk off into effectively just they walk off into the sunset back towards Midgar with sparkly bits.
Brandon, same question.
So, thinking about the ending and, kind of everything that's been going on, I feel like the main twist of this game was the fact that, it's not going to be completely the same in terms of the story. So, with that being said, with Remake, a lot of the beginning of the game was pretty much telling you the same story with just a lot more details added, like more details about Avalanche, more details about the people that live in the slums, that kind of stuff. We didn't really start seeing the additions, or not additions, the changes to the core plot until we started getting later on. Obviously, the Whisperers have been there since the beginning of this game, and that was your main differences, so to speak. But we didn't really start getting into some real differences until we started getting in. By the time we got to Shinra building, there were some parts that was like, wait a minute, hold on. Don't they go to jail? Or why are we not in jail yet? Stuff like that. And then of course we already touched on Barrett getting freaking stabbed and that nonsense. Wedge being there in the Shinra building, stuff like that happening. It was getting to the point where I was like, wait, hold on. This isn't just additions. These are changes. So, and then of course we get the big reveal about the Whispers and changing fate. And then of course that big end where they fight against Sephiroth is them defying fate. And then of course them fighting the Whispers themselves. So now that I think the twist, the fact that it's not going to be exactly the same is out, I think going forward, it's like Kristie said when she was citing the Ultimania stuff, we're still going to get the story that we know from Final Fantasy VII. We're still going to go hit the places like the Costa del Sol, the Cosmo Canyon. Those main story beats are still going to happen. But I think going forward, we are most certainly going to see a lot more changes now that the cat's out of the bag. It's going to become unexpected now. People are going to wondering, okay, so how are things going to be different? As opposed to, the changes are now an expectation, not a wonder if they'll do it, It can go in any direction now.
So
and I'm just curious to see how go ahead.
So what's your interpretation of the ending? Are the Whispers still there? Are they gone? Is there a second timeline? Is there a split timeline?
Yeah, I think the fact that Zack lived and still has the Buster Sword must confirm the existence of a split timeline. What exactly implications that's going to mean going forward, I can't really say right now, but I think it's going to be interesting seeing how that develops. As far as to your question about whether I think the Whisperers are still alive, I feel like the majority of them are gone. I feel like enough of them are gone where they don't have complete totalitarian control of fate itself. What's going to happen is what's going to happen regardless of whether the Fates wanted to or not. And that's why I think there's more change that's going to happen. I think the remake itself may be indicative of how future parts are going to go, where the first part of this remake started off with almost nothing being different and then getting very different near the end. I feel like the further we go into this remake project with the new releases, the changes are going to become more and more pronounced. And I would even go as far as to say is that our final ending confrontation is going to be almost nigh unrecognizable.
I mean,
by the end, I can't really. There's only so much.
Double Omni Slash.
Double Omni Slash.
I mean, technically, we already kind of almost did the end of the game.
Well,
That's why it's going to be different.
Technically, since it takes Square so long to develop a game,
Oof.
they're making us talk about the ending.
So that we can all be distracted as they take their time.
So, yeah, we're all talking about the ending. We're all waiting for them.
Yeah, we certainly are.
We have something to talk about while
they develop, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's I'm curious to see where they go. Now, granted, I think I'm the only one in this group who hasn't completely finished OGFF7. I'm currently working on it, so I can't speak too much about ending stuff of OGFF7, how much different that'll get. But I still think that given what we've seen so far, I think it's expected that some things will get quite different. If it's okay, I want to talk real quick about some of the minor characters that I think will be coming back forward because of things that are different now.
Okay.
Johnny's never coming back.
Thank God.
No! Come back!
Fuck Johnny.
I want to see for Johnny. I want to see him go bro in Costa del Sol.
Actually, before you do that, hold on to that for a second. I just want to get through this question really quick.
Sure.
Sorry.
That's fine.
So Job, what was your interpretation of the ending? Do you think there's a second timeline, and do you believe that the Whispers are gone halfway, somewhat, all the way?
I don't believe in the alternate timeline. I kind of think it'll be something more along the lines of things will line up with our timeline. Like, we might see Zack in our timeline, etc., but I don't think time has broken off or, like, anything like that. But it is possible. I kind of did see some good points out of what Zack said and what everyone else has mentioned. I also don't think the Whispers are completely gone either, because when we fought them, we killed them, like, twice over, the little ones, and they just, like, revived at will from the big one, I assume. And then we killed the big one, but, like, he died very much the same way the little ones did, and they still came back. So I think either, you know, that little Sephiroth theory that he's holding them could be true, or that they are still alive in some way, but we're not going to see them right away, maybe.
Okay. As for me, I think so my original theory, which I still kind of believe, is that they are gone, and the Whispers, I mean, and that this is a way for I agree with Zack. I think this is a way for Sephiroth to kind of control the players, because he did mention, when I first finished the game, I was talking to him, and he did mention that Sephiroth uses let's say it was Sephiroth, he attempts to keep Cloud and Aerith from meeting, but then Aerith has that scene with the Whispers in which she ends up meeting Cloud anyway. And they were basically there to keep the OG story together. And I think now that they're gone, it's kind of just like Square being like, Sephiroth is gonna fuck with all of us. And we are playing right into his hand, because essentially he has made us destroy the Whispers. And by us destroying them, anything can happen. So I do think they're gone, but I also kind of changed my mind. I do agree that Sephiroth probably does have control of them, because Zack just made a really good point in that they were taken into the sword. So yeah, I do believe it is going forward going to be a game of, you know, us versus Sephiroth. And as far as alternate timelines, I 100% believe that there's another timeline. I was convinced with Stamp. It could easily just be a red herring. I mean, it could just be, you know, that past events are catching up to present. I don't know. But I do believe that there are alternate timelines, and I do believe that the Whispers are gone and we're all going to be fucked. So the next question that I have is, how did you feel when you saw Zack was still alive? And with this question, you can also talk about, you know, other characters that other minor characters as well, and what happened to them. So we can also get that out there. So Brandon, I will let you go first this time, so you can give us both what you thought about when you saw Zack still alive, and then tell us how you felt about the alternate characters as well.
Sure, sounds good. So, yeah, when I saw, so, you know, we get close to the end. We see the iconic last scene from Crisis Core with Zack standing up against all the different Shinra, the ops are ready to take him out. And then, you know, I'm like, and then, but of course it lines up with all the other scenes that we've seen where it's like, we're seeing flashbacks of future stuff, right? And then the credits getting ready to roll. And then you cut back to Zack. And then I hear the line, wait, is that all of them? And I lost my mind. Like, it was like 1 a.m, and I had to like lower my volume. I was like, is that all of them? Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no, he lived. Like, I was just like absolutely dying. I was like, that's one of the main reasons. Like, it was like, Jerel, you know, you were up. It was like 1:30 in the morning. And
I was there.
I was like, no. We didn't talk about this right now.
Yes.
Like, I was just like completely lost it, because that's an iconic thing from the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, just Zack's death, because it's a significant part of Cloud's background. And then to see that happen was just like, I'm just so excited for the prospects of what's going to happen with the fact that he's alive now. I want to see how they do that. Like, what's going to happen now that he's just alive? Oh man. I think really, honestly, the line, is that all of them, just going to be a quote I'm just going to be using for like a few months now. Like, when I refer to this, like, just things in general. But yeah, I'm going to just a quick touch real quick on the minor characters. Yes, please bring more Johnny, but not just Johnny. There's other minor characters that were inside the quest that could very well appear. Like, for example, you have a few side quests involving like this reporter Damon. Like if you complete all his side quests, he mentions that he's going to go freelance and like report on good stuff for the world, so he might appear. I think they did introduce a lot of characters and reintroduce a lot of characters that could have potential going forward. I don't see a lot of these characters just being one and done for Midgar and just going away. Certainly some like Weimer could probably just be there and be done because he's a Midgar guy, whatever. But like characters like Johnny and certainly Roche, if they don't introduce him again after that big introduction in Chapter 4, he's such a waste.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a waste when I didn't see him after escaping Shinra Tower.
He should have
I was
That motorcycle sequence.
so pissed.
It's funny.
Like-
Job and
I was
I were
like, what
talking
the
about that.
Like we all thought the same thing. It was like
That he was
they
going to
have
show
the
up.
motorcycle sequence that you're doing, and then they had Roche like, oh wow, so they added him to the sequence so they could boost up the final motorcycle sequence in this game. And then I fought the robot, and we went to Chapter 8. He's like, wait, sorry, what? Where's Roche?
Why wasn't
lie.
Rose riding Motorball?
I won't
Or
lie.
that,
I
or
was
that.
happy he
I was
wasn't
like,
there.
where is Roche? Like the entire time I was like, okay, Roche is going to pop on out, and and then I finished, and I was like, wait, what? What?
I was happy he
So-
wasn't there. I really did not like that motorcycle fight against him at all.
Yeah,
So
motorcycle
I
fight was
didn't-
but the actual fight, that was great.
The
Yes,
fight was
I
great.
agree.
I did not like the motorcycle stuff, but the fact that he wasn't there, and if we don't see him in future titles, I feel like it would have been a waste of
He
character.
definitely has to come
Yeah.
back. Like he has to
He
come back.
has to. He set himself up to be the rival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Frankly, obviously, I let's be real. I think he's going to appear in future parts. They didn't spend all this time making this
100%.
character just for him not to appear in future parts. But that being said, I still think it's a waste that he can appear just one more time here in this part. That's all I have to say about that.
He's so annoying.
So yeah, excited that Zack's alive. Excited to see what they do with all these minor characters going forward. I gotta have a bro moment with Johnny at Costa del Sol. So that's all for me.
Oh my god, please kill Johnny.
Johnny's
Okay, you
great.
can kill him
Come
as
on.
long as he appears. That's
It's
fine.
so annoying. The only thing I love and I would love to see is the trio. I think they were my favorite
Beck's
addition.
badasses.
No, fuck them too. I mean,
They're great.
But
They're the great at
badass.
playing dead.
so bad. Like they're hilarious, but they're really
Beck's
bad.
badasses aren't coming
Nah,
back.
I mean-
They're small time.
I mean, Chocobo Sam, Andrea, and Madam M. I wish
Mhm.
that they had more. Like, they were definitely
Oh
my
my
favorite
goodness.
addition to this title. Madam M is 100% my favorite new addition in FF7, and she should be in all Final Fantasies going forward. Just every
She
single
should.
one.
She'll be the
should
new
be
Sid.
the Anna.
Yes,
The
she should be
Anna
the new.
of Final Fantasy.
Yes, I would.
Except that's
100%
Sid,
be
so
down with that.
I guess.
Nope, no,
Ugh.
fuck Sid. Welcome Madam M everywhere. I don't even
Final
care.
Fantasy 16, no Sid, only Adam M. Madam M.
Yes, 100%. So, Kristie, how did you feel when you saw that Zack was still alive?
I was so I was really surprised, to be honest. I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest. I mean, now that the game has been out for a little bit over a month now, I wonder if he's going to be the black coat guy number 2, because
Hmm?
because
Sorry.
it was kind of implied that the black coats, they used to be former soldiers, right?
Maybe. Cause, okay, so, like, black coats, are they not just, failed experiment? Oh, Brandon, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like the black coats.
Don't
what
listen,
was it? The
Brandon.
guy.
But aren't they
One of the
just, like,
neighbors.
failed experiments anyway, and that's why they were saying the reunion? Are they also technically gonna be, a soldier? Are they?
Well,
Oh, I guess they
well,
could
because-
be.
no,
Yeah,
because
'cause
like
they-
in chapter 8, one of the kids they mentioned saying that, oh yeah, our parents said that this guy used to be a former soldier and whatnot.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're right.
Mhm.
So I wonder if it was because the Genova cells finally got to him. Because
Oh my god.
I just had a thought.
Oh my
What if-
god, Kristie, why are you doing this?
I
What if-
live for this.
Oh
What if that's where they take Roche's character? Like, we fight him a few more times throughout, like, the next couple parts or whatever, and then gradually we're seeing him, like, deteriorate into that same, like, mental state as...
no. Bro, what are you guys doing to me?
Well, because what happened is that technically the Ultimania did confirm that this game is part of the compilation.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
the last part of the compilation.
So basically, in what was it? There was something in Crisis Core. I know, Zach, you've played Crisis
Yeah.
Core, right?
Yeah, the
They mentioned
cellular degeneration.
degeneration.
Aerith's mom mentions it as well in the game.
Yeah, so I wonder if, even though Zach did survive in the end, the reason why Cloud got the sword was because Zach had the degeneration. It happened to him.
Which would essentially mean that those alternate or separate timelines have converged. So maybe that was Zack living in the past somehow, and then in the present, we have us almost killing Zack. But oh my gosh, that would mean that they made Zack live only for us to kill him again.
Yeah, that's why I don't.
Why is that even shocking? They already
have
did
a
it with
grander
Wedge
case.
and Biggs.
True, but then we would essentially be the ones that would have to kill him, which
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Let's go.
So I'll jump in really quick.
You heard me yell just now. It's secondhand hype of the Zack's alive. I don't want to do this.
I'll jump in really quick about Zack. I was also super shocked. I was literally, guys, no surprise I cried at the end of this game, because I cry at the end of every fucking game because I'm a baby. And seeing Zack, I thought, originally, I thought when we first see him in whatever chapter that is, I don't remember. I thought, oh, okay, they're bringing him in so we can learn more about, Crisis Core, because I had not played Crisis Core.
It's such a good game.
So I've heard, but I haven't played it. So I assumed that Zack's appearance in the game was basically just going to be us getting him as flashbacks so that we would learn more about him so that the entire story would make sense. That was my assumption. And so as far as I knew, Zack died. Obviously, the whole shit happens with Cloud. Cloud ends up with Zack's sword. Cloud, I won't spoil it because Brandon's not finished, but my knowledge was that Zack was dead. And so I assumed that this was just, okay, Aerith used to love Zack. She's going to be all sad, whatever. We had that moment in which Cloud blacks out or has his little memory shit when Aerith is talking about how Zack was like her first love. And of course, while she says his name, he's all like, nah, whatever, I don't remember shit. So I really just thought that seeing Zack in the game was going to be, oh, okay, this is who Zack is. It was not this is who Zack is. It was get fucked, Zack's alive. And I was like, oh my god! Like, what is happening here? So I definitely had a oh shit moment. Zack, what about you? How did you feel?
So, with Zack being alive, like I was saying already, I believe in the split timeline thing. So, what if they have like a stopgap in between, like a DLC, just like reused assets and stuff, where you get playable Zack, but it's Zack doing the bombing run in place of Cloud.
Oh!
And you're playing through like what would the events have been if Zack had lived?
Yeah.
Like, what if he met Avalanche and he was part of that, and they like had a tag team mercenary duo going on, him and Cloud? Like, what if that's where they go for like some side story that'll eventually tie back into the main game, and it doesn't ever actually affect anything in the main series until the key points where they want it to? Like the big thing with Aerith, like Aerith and Zack are kind of a thing, so if a major scene with Aerith happens and Zack is alive in some way, shape, or form, it'd be kind of weird to not have him there in some capacity.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we eventually get to that.
You mean with Aerith dying?
I was trying to dance around it, but yeah.
I mean, it's a
She
spoiler
died?
cast. Say it. Say it.
Died? Jerel.
I know it's a spoiler
Spoilers,
cast.
gosh.
Which, like, mind you, thank you for reminding me. That was something that I forgot to bring up about the Whispers, and the fact that we saw those scenes with Aerith dying twice, not once but twice.
Yes.
And both times you don't actually see Aerith. As a matter of fact, I think the second time you only see like a blackened figure in the pool. We did not see Aerith, and I think that was also just Square being dicks.
You see part of her when you see the materia drop.
True, in the beginning.
You do.
But that's the first time that we see it. Not after the Whispers. That's before the Whispers. Right? The second time is during the fight with the Whispers. But either way, I was like, Oh, I know that was one of the things. Is like, oh, maybe Aerith won't die, and I was like, I would like it if she didn't because I love using her as a playable character.
She kind of has to die though. Like that's like the linchpin in the story.
She does have to die. Like that's where I was going with this. I know that there are theories saying that she won't, but I was gonna say that like this game is iconic for the fact that she dies. So obviously we all know it's gonna happen. Even in the Ultimanium, I do believe it was Katase that said that you can expect the original story, like the big original story moments, to happen anyway. So for anyone who does think that Aerith is going to live, I'm sorry, but I do believe she's gonna die.
She
I
might
do
die
believe
at
that
a
too.
different
Time
point or in a different
yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to die differently, but
She definitely has.
she
to
may
die.
not die in the Forgotten. Oh, yeah, that's right. Brandon has it. Sorry.
All
I
right.
was about to say something. But yeah,
I mean, they very
moving
well show
on.
her dying.
Yeah, I mean they showed it twice. So Job, how did you feel about Zack being alive?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, that's just like a mindfuck completely. Because he's like borderline irrelevant in the original. You barely get like information about him. Really.
Until like the end.
Mhm.
And even then it's like
It's not very much.
sparse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying
So,
it's
like,
almost like fan service?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it's more so playing into what they're already telling us about, like, oh, the road to the iconic moments are gonna be, or rather, the iconic moments are gonna be the same, but the road there is gonna be different. I think that's what Zack is. He's gonna play a part of some sort in the path, but I don't think he's gonna affect the actual storyline.
I absolutely agree. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
can't
agree.
just toss him in too much, or else it's gonna like lessen his impact, I think.
I do believe that he's right. I mean, Joe, when we were talking about it earlier, yeah, like you don't get very much on Zack. So I still don't know much on Zack. I just know that he and Aerith had a relationship and then he died. And like I only know what was in OG FF7, his relationship with Cloud and what he was. But you still don't even get much of that aside from like I don't know how much is in Crisis Core because I didn't play it. Like you guys would know, but I don't know shit about Zack. But I was like, I just know that this guy's supposed to be dead and then he left Aerith and he's not. What's going on?
Exactly.
Anyway, so I'm going to move on a little bit because we're going over. Does anyone have any ideas or any theories about what Sephiroth meant when he said that Cloud only has 7 seconds? And what will he do with this time?
I think the 7 seconds is going to be his decision as to whether or not how Aerith dies, or 7 seconds leading up to her death.
Okay, anyone else?
Apparently, in that scene, there's a bit of, like if you open the map somehow during that, you can get a bit of information where it says that that area you're in is the final 7 seconds of the planet, like right before a meteor hits.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the very literal meaning of
that.
what it is. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
All right, well, now I got to go back and do
I
it.
didn't do it.
Now I need to go back and do it.
I don't know how to do it. All I know is, like, apparently that is a
cutscene,
thing.
no? Is that not cutscene? How can you open the map during the cutscene?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Apparently it's a thing, though.
Wait, can you open the map when you're fighting?
But that's all cutscene, though.
No, but like when you're fighting Sephiroth maybe or something? And it
No,
says
I
okay.
think you can only assess or pause.
Yeah, you can only assess.
I don't think you can open the map.
Yeah, but assess was useful.
But I don't
Yeah,
think you can
it
pause,
was.
though. I mean,
Assess, you get all those question marks.
it literally is just like, hey, what do you know? Nothing. It's just, future stuff. Okay, thanks, game. Anyone else want to chime in on that before I move on?
I got nothing.
I got nothing. That
Okay.
is too cryptic.
Okay. So,
Fuck you, Sephiroth. That's my input.
wow. So my next question is, how did you guys feel about portions of the end of the original game being put into the remake? And I bring this up because I know that some people said that this might change due to, timeline shifts and that Square just wanted us to be able to get that iconic end fight scene because it may be different. So how did you guys feel about so much of the original ending of the game being put in there, even when we see Red 13 running across the planet with his children, and we see the scene of Aerith's death? Like, how did you guys feel about all of that being put in the first part of this game? That's an open-ended question for anyone.
I really like the idea of them showing things that, like, have been in, like, what is it, like, the public's eye for like what 20 plus years. Like they're
Yeah.
showing stuff that people are aware of, even if they haven't played the game. Like everyone knows what happens there.
Yeah,
Everyone's probably come across that scene with Red 13 to some extent.
yeah, I've seen it.
If you're familiar with what's going on or interested in the game, you've probably seen it somewhere somehow. So them teasing a lot of that made a lot of sense to me. And what I think is that because of how long this game took to come out, they wanted to show us that they have all of this still in mind, that they're gonna do it justice. They're gonna make it look incredible when it's time for it, and they just want to give you that taste of what's to come. Especially that scene with Sephiroth at the very end where they are having that clash where Cloud literally uses his Omni Slash, but every single hit gets blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was fantastic. Like, you're not ready yet. What are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
That was great.
Anyone else want to chime in on that?
I'll touch on it just briefly. Yeah, they picked the right scenes too because, again, as someone who hasn't finished FF7, I still recognize every scene they showed, even if I don't know the full context behind all of it, which for several of them I don't, but I recognize them. So I think it's cool. Like I don't know if we touched this as like a smidge, but the whole idea that this game is playing with fate and what's going to happen and what's not going to happen from past games. It really does, in a way, kind of like, this is established stuff. You know, even if Remake ends up changing the entire story by the end, we know how it was supposed to go because, you know, this is stuff that's been out for well over 20 years at this point. So for it to be out there is like, we know how it's supposed to go, and it's just like, it's different. And also, if they do decide to change some of these big moments, like the stuff that we saw in the Visions, is for some reason they don't end up happening, at least they exist in this remake. So like you said, if, you know, we get to see how they would have looked in the HD format, the most iconic scenes, that is. So I think that's pretty cool.
Anyone else?
I'm good.
Okay.
I actually have one more thing about Red's scene in particular. Like where you get that flashback or that flash forward of Red running through the field with his kids, and you see that. That's the very last thing you see. And what's the line he says right after that?
You know, so I actually wanted to talk about this because I was confused, but go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So the line Red says as soon as you come back from that flash forward is, it's a future that will come if we fail here.
If we fail here today.
Yes.
So he's implying that that's a bad end.
And that's the actual end.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, what does that mean?
So if you recall from like the full scene, is once it gets to the end of that path, you look out over a abandoned Midgar.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely overgrown. And I guess to that point, it's implied that humanity's gone at that point. So if that's the case, then yeah, that's kind of a bad end. So,
you know, I think that's so interesting because that made me re-look at the ending of the original game after hearing that. I went and rewatched that scene again after hearing that because I was like, I thought this was good. Like, you know, the Earth is reforming.
Yeah, that's too.
That's absolutely the original intent for sure. Is like, oh yeah, all the evil of Midgar is returning to the planet, and that's a good thing. But like, if you recontextualize it, like, what did that cost though?
Yeah.
So.
That definitely was something I wanted to touch on, so thank you for bringing it up, because I after rewatching it, I was like, oh shit, yeah, no, Midgar is overrun. It's just, you know, overgrown with, you know, plant life and earth life, and there's nothing there except for, you know, Red 13 and his kids. So that was a very, very interesting thing for Square to do, to make us at least go back and recontextualize, like you said, the end of a game that I thought was a good ending, only to be like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't that great. Yeah, like, oh, it's not as wonderful as I remember it being. It's a little somber, a bit.
So I saw this one time, and do you guys think that the remake is, in a way, a sequel to the OG?
I would say yes, in a sense
kind
that
of
it's not
feel like it
a
is too.
like not a direct sequel, but kind of like a I don't know how to describe it. I wouldn't say sequel, but I would say alternate.
So this isn't my term. This comes from one Maximilian Dude, a requel.
Okay.
It is
Yeah.
a requel.
Okay.
I can, yeah, that is good job, Maximilian. If you're listening, and you're probably not, whatever. I can take that. Yes, I agree with that.
Actually, there's one thing I'll point out to say that as well to your question. Before I had finished Remake, Kristie had messaged me when she was looking through Ultimania stuff, saying that this is absolutely part of the compilation. And at the time, because I hadn't finished Remake, I just responded simply, was like, well, I mean, it's part of Final Fantasy VII, so of course it's part of the compilation. But only after finishing it do I truly understand what she meant by that. As in, it's a separate entry with its own story as part of the compilation.
Yep.
So,
Which is why it's a remake.
Mhm.
Correct. Yep.
So two more questions that I will converge into one because we're running low on time. What are your biggest concerns for the game, and what were your favorite parts of the remake? And then, of course, anything else that you want to add.
How will my materia transfer over?
Biggest
and
concern,
I've
how will my
got-
material transfer
I've got
over?
a theory on that one.
Oh, you got one. Cool. Talk to us.
So, okay, picture this. We open the next game. You're in Calm. Cloud's doing his whole story. Maybe playable Sephiroth. That'd be neat. But you finish the flashback or story time with Cloud, and you check your pockets. Oh no, all of our materia has been stolen. All our equipment. Where'd it go?
And then we're introduced to
Yuffie.
Yuffie.
That would be great.
Oh!
I can totally see that.
You have to chase down Yuffie, and by the time you catch up to her after you get past the snake cave and all that, because you don't get to meet her until then anyway in the original. You go through all that without any equipment. You find her, and she's like, "Oh, it's gone. I sold it. I made some money. Here you go."
Wow.
Which is so
Wow.
interesting, actually. You literally just reminded me that Snake Cave and everything. We don't see Sephiroth, at
No, we
all
never.
in the OG.
You don't
No.
meet him until
At all.
Although
And,
Genova
Until that-
was
Until the
creepy.
Calm flashback.
Mhm.
even Genova, so much was put into this game. Even the Genova battle, none
that
of
Genova-
this stuff happened.
The Genova battle happened, I think.
In
I'm pretty
the
sure you
OG?
do. I'm pretty.
In
Yeah,
Midgar.
the Genova battle happened in the OG.
True. I was thinking of, you're right.
It's just you have so little context for why or what's
Yeah.
happening.
Right. Me and Jerel got confused by the same thing because I also forgot about the Genova fight in Midgard because there was no context at the time that you didn't even think about
You're
it.
climbing this industrial tower and you're fighting a space alien. Now, good luck.
Correct. That
Yep.
was my thinking. I didn't think twice about it until later.
Because it's literally just we see that Sephiroth has killed everyone in the Shinra building. Well, almost
Yeah, that was
everyone in the
brutal
Shinra
scene.
building. And then,
That was-
we see his sword, or his mark with the snake, and he's like this entity that's just always a little out of reach, which makes him really scary. But now it's he's in your face. This is this guy. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
this
it's like
guy.
in Remake, before I realized the full realization that this was going to be a different story, I was going to Shinra Building, waiting for that scene the entire time, us getting thrown into jail and watching just the bodies all over everywhere. And then I realized, wait a minute, hold on, we're in Hojo's lab right now. This is chapter 17. That scene's not going to happen now.
It doesn't
Yeah.
happen at all.
Yeah, that jail cell they replaced with it being Aerith's room instead.
Right,
Which-
exactly.
Honestly, I kind of liked a lot. Did you guys
that
happen
was
to
cool.
look at the mural she painted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's so much shit in that mural.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
so much.
Go into it. Tell me.
So you can see, I believe you can see Bahamut and Leviathan
Yes.
surrounding the white materia,
I saw that.
which has one of the flowers in it. You can see a little tiny red dot that represents Meteor.
I did not see that.
You can see on the left-hand side, I think you can see the home of the ancients.
Mhm.
You can see the buildings and everything over there. And then just all the green is representing the live stream, of course.
Yeah.
But there's so much detail hiding in that one little mural that you can only see for that one scene.
Speaking of that, one of my favorite parts of the game, since we're talking about, things that concern us and favorite parts, one of my favorite parts was, the sequence when you explore the Shinra building. Mostly because
I love the stairs.
Yes.
mostly because when you go in and you're in the theater and you get the entire history of the ancients through that beautiful
Oh yeah, that was
cutscene.
amazing.
It was pretty.
That I think was definitely one of my favorite parts of this game because it did so much for making the story understandable that I think the original kind of lacks.
Yeah, it gets lost.
It gets very muddled, but this game was like, this is it. These are the ancients. This is Meteor. Like, this is what happened to them. Well, not this is Meteor, but like, this is what happened to them. And it's a visual, explanation. And I think that was such a great idea. And it looked gorgeous. So that was definitely one of my favorite parts. Props to Square Enix for making this, more understandable to even fans, who have.
And then it glitches out.
Yep.
And Sephiroth attacks.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, don't worry about that.
Oh,
It
shit.
happened. It's been having troubles.
Everything's fine. Don't worry. I also loved what they did with the mayor of Shinra,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and
The
even
mayor!
even
The
adding,
best is the best.
He's so
Mayor.
yeah, it was so great. Even adding, some of the additions that were also my favorite parts were giving us more information on Avalanche, us understanding that Barrett and his team are not Avalanche. They are a sect of Avalanche. Their Avalanche is much
That's what
bigger
I really like.
than just this little group, because the OG doesn't do that. Of course it does, I believe it does explain a little bit of it, but I think this game did a really, really great job at making things that were kind of understood into like, this is exactly what we mean. This is who these people are.
They were very clear
Mhm.
about what they meant,
And
is
yes,
what I feel like.
another, of course, the combat is still one of my favorite things.
I love the combat.
It's like so good. I think as for some concerns I have, I do think that I don't even know if it's much of a concern. I'm actually just gonna wait and see what they do. I hope that they don't go too big or too ambitious with this game. Just because and this is just my own little personal opinion. With the probability of an alternate timeline, I think I'm super excited to see what they do. I'm happy for changes. I'm just hoping that it doesn't become like this big Kingdom Hearts thing where you gotta follow so much to figure out what the heck's going on. But as long as that doesn't happen, I am super, super excited for where this goes. Does anyone else have any favorite parts or concerns?
I think, going off of that, because it's going to be a team, I think we should be okay.
Yeah,
for the
definitely.
most part.
I agree.
But my main concern is whether or not Square can stick the landing, since Square, they haven't been that great at sticking the landing as of late.
Oh, that reminds me of one more concern I have. I really, really hope that whenever they are, doing advertisements for part 2, they do not do what they did with this one, because they showed so much of this game in advertisements.
They were doing so good until that last
They were
trailer.
doing well, but it's always
Yeah,
their
that
final
last trailer.
trailers.
I didn't even watch it because I was like, okay.
Their final trailers always reveal something. Like in Type 0, they reveal the entire ending of Type 0 in that final trailer.
I know it was because of
Never
there were
knew that.
leaks going around that time, and people were concerned about the game, and we had the leaks of Red 13 and everything. So I'm sure that helped with their decision to put so much into it. But even when we did I think my most disappointing moment was when we were in the Coliseum, which I thought was a really fun, cool addition to this game. When we're in the Coliseum and then you have to do the final battle and the house comes up. I was like, if I had no idea that this house was coming, this would have been such a cool oh shit moment, because I remember fighting those houses in OG and thinking, how are they going to incorporate this into this new game? And It would have been so fucking cool to see that house come out of the ground. But I already knew it was coming because I saw the preview with the house in it. And I was like, oh my god, they're bringing the house back. But then when that moment happened, I was like, damn it. This would have been such an epic ass moment. Seeing
It would have been a
that
cool
battle.
surprise.
Let's go back to the moment with Barrett. They literally show Barrett getting stabbed in that
In
final
the-
trailer.
They do.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Oh
do.
my god,
Yeah.
I didn't
Yep.
watch that.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah.
They
What
really
were
do.
they thinking?
Honestly, it's a
Wow.
rule of thumb within like the Square fandom. You do not watch the final trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Like,
my god.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
was
they just can't.
I
They
don't
can't help themselves.
I don't
Like, this
remember
is such a
what
cool scene.
I don't remember what the name of the other enemy is that you fight in the train graveyard, but I did have that moment of, oh shit, I remember fighting these, and I wish I had that with the house, because it was such an epic ass moment that was ruined, so that's another concern. But yeah, anyway, favorite parts, concerns, anyone else?
I think my other concern is, what if there are new players who want to play part 2, but they haven't played part 1? Will they, like, I assume that they will be able to, but what if they really just want to play part 2? How will the leveling system work? Will they
You mean not
get all the
having played the
equipment
original?
from that people have originally from part 1?
I really feel like the
Honestly,
equipment's
that would
not
be
gonna roll over, honestly.
You don't?
You don't
I
think
really
so?
don't think it is.
Like
I
the
really
weapons
don't.
and whatnot?
Like I was saying with the Yuffie thing, like, I don't think you're ever actually gonna see any of the equipment you had. They might do, like, some sort of rollover, like you get a reward if you have, like, save file or something like that. But I don't think you're gonna keep everything.
I don't think you'll keep everything. I agree, but you have to. Like, there's no way you cannot.
Like, maybe you'll have,
Like
the
like
weapons
they
and,
put so much
your,
effort into for us to get all these materials, only for us not to have it roll over.
Yeah, no. See, I think there's no way that you can have people put 50, 60 hours into this game, have them level up Buster Sword, and then create a system in which you can still use the Buster Sword towards the end of the game, only to not give it back to you. That's
And like the
that's
ability proficiency too. It's like you spend so many hours or like a couple of battles trying to level it up to max it and to actually learn it.
I do agree they might not give you everything. Like, I wouldn't be mad if I don't have the nail bat. Because I didn't use it.
I wouldn't be mad either.
Like, my thought is, though, like, you're gonna start a game at, like, level 50, though? Like, that's what I'm thinking.
I would not be.
They're gonna Metroid you, and you're gonna get stripped of everything.
Yeah,
Or
no,
do you
I
think-
agree with that.
Well,
but
then here's the thing: is that was the cutoff level was level 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Like,
in the original, you're, like, level 5.
But here's the thing: is like, why not make it to level 99 in the end? Why 50?
Yeah, so I also think that I think we're safe, mostly because the way that the battle system works is that it's less it's less button mashing and more strategy. So I think you can go from like 50 to 60. I think even if you do 10 levels in part 2, if the combat is as challenging as it was in the beginning, I think levels are pretty much just numbers.
Or do you think that they'll just scale it?
Or it can easily just be, because the numbers did get a little ridiculous. The HP got ridiculous, but I don't think that the damage that we did was ridiculous. I think they did a really good job at mushing numbers, because, I don't think anyone can do, and correct me if I'm wrong.
You can still do 9999. With
I've only
hits.
seen it on like summons or crits.
I haven't seen.
You
I
get
only
it
saw it
pretty
on like a
often.
summon.
It's possible with like a staggered enemy and the right hits. It's possible.
But the enemies have so much health that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
To me, honestly, I don't think they're gonna wipe us clean. One of my biggest reasons is because of the enemy skill materia. How are they gonna wipe us clean of skills we acquired in Midgard, but they just throw us out of that? Like, fuck those skills.
Man, fuck the enemy skill materia.
I mean, if it's on a materia, like, once that materia is gone, you don't have it.
Wait,
but
what?
No, it's like they make such a big deal with all these materias. Like, what's the point of losing it in part 2?
I'm hoping they give me more, because there's more. I want more. Give me another.
There is more.
Give
there
me
has
another
to be more.
all materia, you assholes.
Give me
more
magnifying.
magnifying.
The magnifying was the all material. I was so pissed when I found. I was like, seriously?
Yeah.
I had it this entire time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I was like, oh yeah, this is totally the all materia. Why y'all didn't just call it the all materia?
For real.
Like, come on.
Like, come on, guys, get it together.
But I do agree. So, but to agree with Zach a little bit, I do think that they are not going to give us, if they if they don't take everything away, I don't think we're getting that many more weapons. Just because the ability list is getting a little long. Each character already has 6 abilities to scroll through. I don't think they're going to give us 12. Like, I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
We'll have 12 in part 3, Jerel.
Part 3, we have 12 things to scroll through. Oh my god, I'm never going to scroll through all of them to get what I want.
Is the reason why there's a shortcut menu.
You're right. That is why you go into the battle settings and make a shortcut menu. You're 100% correct. Fuck me.
They were like, yeah, people will use this, and then all of a sudden, Square, they're saying, wait, how come people are just going to ability? You know what? We'll do it.
We'll do it.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Alright, so yeah, anyone else favorite parts, concerns?
Chapter 9, love it.
Oh
Love
my
how
God.
they love everything about that chapter is great. From the music in the tunnel, and then you get to Wall Market.
Yes.
Oh, like both songs that are in the tunnel are great. The first one, and then the one that's like a remake of the old G Wall Market theme where you meet Beck's badasses. Both of those themes are great. And then when you get to Wall Market itself, oh my god, people were concerned that stuff from Walmart was getting cut. Oh my god, they added to it. Like everything about that music segment was great. All 3 of them in their dresses are immaculate. Oh my goodness.
Is a great dancer. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my god, this dance was so good.
I was so happy. Like, I saved right before that just so I could do it again. I was like, this is great. I love it.
It is wonderful.
And I love, during that entire dancing sequence, Aerith was just having a blast the entire time. From just her cheering during the dance sequence, and then they started making up clouds. She was like hyperventilating at that.
Okay, but have you seen what she does, like, when you do badly in the performance, though?
No!
Like, the look on her face?
Yeah, she gets progressively like, oh no.
She's like, oh
yeah.
no.
Oh,
This is
wait,
a mistake.
really?
I need to look that up. Oh my god, I need to
if you
look
do
that up.
Really?
poorly, she reacts
I need to
it,
look
yep.
this up.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Also, so another thing that's in Wall Market, in the OG as well, the broken machine that fires at you in the corner.
Yes.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, did give you
That
the
is
ultimate weapon
Tifa's
for
ultimate.
Tifa? Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's there.
It's right there.
I'm wondering if we're gonna come back and if it's gonna be a thing later on. I hope so.
So
They have
I
to
think
have
so.
I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about wanting Madam M and the other 2 coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like they're setting up that you're coming back, so that would be the perfect time to like
To bring them
reincorporate
back?
those
Yes!
characters again. Absolutely.
Even those characters that aren't leaving Midgar, for example, like they could still come back in that form. Like the ones that Mr. like Weimer and whoever else, and the Angel of the Slums and the characters like those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
fuck
definitely gonna
them.
see them all again.
Madam M deserves to be in the gold saucer. Fuck everybody else. She better be in the gold saucer somewhere. Bring her back.
Oh, you know what? Her
I
and
heard
Temple
that.
Sam can take a nice trip to the Gold Sauce. I would love it.
They did talk about the Golden Saucer, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah. So there's a
I am
good chance
curious
we
if
could
we're
see
going
them
to
there
see the
too.
Stuff.
And there's also hints of their relationship.
Yep.
Which reminds me, with over at the Gold Saucer, I know that it's in the OG, you can take a character on a date.
Yes.
How will that be implemented? Well,
It's very likely going to be a similar system to what they did for the chapter.
Justice.
What was it? Chapter 14?
Chapter 3 and 8.
The scene specifically, though, like
The 14 one,
it's
the
going to be
resolution
a similar point system for sure, like through the dialogue
Do you-
and side
Do you think
quests.
that'll carry over? If you have a save data, do you think it'll carry over?
Oh, I
You know, that'd
believe
be
so,
neat.
Yeah.
I think that'd be.
Might,
You know what?
but it might
think
be a
shit
separate
doesn't
set,
transfer
though.
over,
I
then
think
I don't
so that you
know.
don't get. If you wanted to like change directions, it would be easier.
Yeah, sure, that'd be fine. But I think if there's one thing that would be cool if they carried over from an old save file, that would be a neat one to bring.
All right. Anything else?
Please don't take
I
my
really
years
like-
for the second part. Thanks.
I just
That'd be
want
great.
part 2.
Yeah.
I really want to see how they're going to handle when the team gets to Wutai and the Turks have to work with Cloud.
Yes. I think they did such a good job at personifying, or rather making real Reno and Rude. So
Yeah, that scene where they're just chilling in the office is great.
Yeah, with
Mhm.
Sen. Yeah. Oh, yes.
They are much
I know
more
when
humanized
Brandon and I we were
than in the
playing
OG.
through for the stream for chapter 12, we were like, it sounds really personal.
Nothing personal, bitch.
Bitch. Bruh, every time
Like,
Cloud
huh.
says bitch, I love it. Every time he calls someone a bitch, I'm like, oh my god, I love you so much. You make me so happy. It's the best thing ever. Anyway, before I wrap up, anything else? Any more favorite parts, concerns? Anything you guys want to throw out there?
Stairs are great.
This is true.
I love the game.
It's
Same.
fantastic.
I really like the way that they incorporated like all the weird little elements from the compilation. Like they didn't have to mention G cells. Like we didn't need to bring.
They didn't have to mention
They didn't
Kunsel
need-
either.
Yeah, they didn't need to mention console and G cells, and even the whole extra avalanche bit is from before Crisis, apparently. Like that line early on where the president's like, yeah, it's that same group that made the attempt on your life earlier. Like that's a whole before Crisis thing.
It is.
It is,
And I'm excited.
especially like I just recently learned like what that entails, and there's a lot. And if it goes in that direction, that's going to be a lot of fun.
The Ultimania, they did confirm that the main Avalanche group, they were allied with Wutai.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are still aligned with Wutai and whatnot.
Oh, still?
Mm-hmm. The main cell. So if it is true, then I'm excited to see how it plays out because it's going to be so exciting.
Man, I just want to see Yuffie and Vincent. That's all I want.
They're gonna look so good.
Like, I'm so excited.
I'm not ready for that battle with Vincent, though.
I'm just so excited to see them. And
Are you
see
ready
how they
for
play.
a weird puzzle to get him out of his coffin?
Bruh.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Bruh.
I'm ready.
If we didn't get having to sneak past the Shinra soldiers in the Shinra building, I think maybe they'll cut off things that people don't like. Now that being said, y'all better give me some rhythm marching minigame for Rufus Shinra's coronation as the head.
Oh my gosh!
If they need a way to
Please don't.
if Nomura needs a way to sneak in another rhythm game, that would be a good way to do it. Can you imagine that would if they did it as a rhythm game instead of that BS he had to do in the original? It could actually be fun.
Excuse you, he's gonna make it a musical, okay?
That's all okay, that would be fine.
I'd be okay with
That'd be
the musical.
fine. If they made a musical or if Cloud had to do a straight performance for
But it's gonna be a freaking musical because Number almost turned 15 into a musical.
He should have. I would have.
He was very close to turning 15 into a musical until
played the fuck out
Yoko
of it.
Shimomura looked at him and was like, no.
Damn it! I would have played the fuck out of that. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on this FF7 Spoilercast. I'm sure we have a lot more thoughts and more to say. Hopefully the game does not take too long to give us part 2. Who knows? We're all just hoping. Consensus is that we loved it. Thank you guys for talking to me, and I will see everyone later. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.